Hi, this is Lila, your storyteller from Voices in Color. Today we present to you Roots in the River, about a young lady who discovers her roots by the death of her grandmother. We begin with the call. Under a sky stained with the twilight fire, Aisha heard her grandmother's whispered desire. Go, go to the river where roots intertwine. There, child, you'll find what is truthfully and rightfully thine. The journal that her grandmother wrote in for years laid open. The map scrawled in ink. Aisha hesitated. She paused to think. Huh, I wonder what my grandmother was writing all these years. What was she trying to tell me? She wondered. A world of her own, of her cities and scenes, seen far from the river's eternal stream. It was interesting to her that her grandmother had left this particular page open. Aisha sat on the edge of her bed, her grandmother's shawl draped over her shoulder. She could still smell her faint scent of lavender and earth, a smell that once filled the air during their long talks at the kitchen table. But now, the smell felt distant, like a memory slipping through her fingers. She sighed. I miss you, grandmother. Her grandmother had always been the keeper of their family's story. Aisha could still hear her voice, soft but strong, weaving tales of ancestors who had crossed oceans, endured trials, and planted roots so deep they survived storms of oppression and loss. But sadly, Aisha had never truly listened. She was always distracted, scrolling through her phone, nodding her head absently, or excusing herself to handle something important, of course, to her. She told herself there would be time, but time, cruel and fleeting, had proved her wrong. Now her grandmother was gone. Aisha's chest tightened as she looked at the old journal sitting on her bedside table. It had belonged to her grandmother, its pages yellowed with age and its covers worn from years of use. Inside, her grandmother had scrawled notes and sketches, a map of stories, wisdom, and life. Asha picked it up hesitantly and flipped through the pages. Words leapt out of her, names she didn't recognize, places she'd never even heard of, and events she couldn't quite place in the timeline of her family's history. She felt a pang of guilt. How did I not ask more questions, she thought, tears welling in her eye. Why didn't I listen when she was right here, ready to share? The journal wasn't enough. The stories felt incomplete without her grandmother's voice to animate them. There were gaps, missing connections between names and places, half-told tales that left Aisha feeling unmoored. She thought of herself now, a woman who had grown up in a city far removed from her ancestral lands. Her grandmother spoke up, surrounded by skyscrapers instead of open skies. She excelled in school, climbed the corporate ladder, and carved out a space in the modern world, but none of it felt like home. Looking at the journal, Aisha realized something profound. She didn't know where she truly belonged. She didn't know her roots.